Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today, we're giving you a first impressions on Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, which we're also filming another video, today, here soon, over on Board Game Co's channel that I think you're going to want to check out. It's going to be a Play This, Not That against Terraforming Mars and... Terraforming Mars.
It's weird to compare the two, but...
Joined today with the Overlord, who's slowly taking over most of the channels, Shira.
Hi.
First impressions. Let's give an overview of what this game is compared to Terraforming Mars. It's sort of like the small box little cousin.
Yeah. Terraforming Mars, the big box, you are slowly exploring a new planet and trying to develop it, increasing the oxygen, increasing the temperature, putting down trees and water, basically making it habitable. We play with the drafting variant, so it has an element of drafting where you're tableau building, gathering cards, hand management, any other...
There's a lot, there's a little bit of area control, it's mostly tableau building and resource management, though.
Yeah.
This is going to be the small box relative to Terraforming Mars. You're going to have a very, very abstracted planet here, where you're going to be slowly flipping and turning it into a habitable location, increasing the oxygen level, rising the temperature, and more importantly, and most importantly...
raising, not rising the temperature.
Stuff like that.
Grammar.
Most importantly, slowly adding a whole stack of cards onto your board that are going to sequence and chain and start pairing off of each other. Just like Terraforming Mars, there's going to be a lot of cards that you can go through, all of which have key terms and words, such as if you play another ecological card, you're going to be able to add a unit to the amount of chickens you have in your coop. If you play
use
this
symbology.
Card,
symbols build on each other and can make the cards more powerful. The more symbols you have, some cards will give you points to score endgame. That's how you win, getting the most amount of points and increasing your rating.
Yeah, you're gonna be slowly collecting points, not only in the cards you play, but then also how effective you've been at terraforming the planet. Now,
did you purposely put this upside down?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Now, one of the most unique, or I think different things about this game is going to be, not the corporation cards, somewhere in here, in this stack of cards that I have,
these guys?
is going to be the action cards. So, Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition is going to have an interesting turn structure.
I think this one's missing.
Every turn, each player is going to have a hand of 5 cards.
Yep.
Those are going to trigger certain stages of the game that they can be involved with. You have the development, the construction, the action, progression, and then finally
production, not progression.
Production, and then finally the research phase. And everyone is going to be able to take every action that the people around the table decided to play.
However, based on the card that you play, you get an added bonus. So,
for instance, if you ended up playing down development,
development is the first one, and that allows you to play the standard green cards. If I played it, I would get a discount. So you have to pay for the cards.
Be able to utilize that card.
You would also be able to put
so I'd take
down a green card. However, you would not get the bonus. Action.
I played action, same thing. You'd be able to take advantage of an action, which is going to be activating a card that's on your tableau, and I would get to do that as well, but also take the bonus that I can activate an action on one additional time.
Yep.
So this is going to be the way that the game flows. You're going to be slowly playing cards from your hand, activating and allowing not only yourself, but everyone else to take advantage of the tableau and the resources that they're building. What was your experience with it? What were you expecting? What did you get out of it?
I had very high expectations. I mean, it's Terraforming Mars.
It does have
Terraforming Mars holds
stamp on the front
really
cover.
Special place in my heart. It's probably one of my favorite longer games to play with a solid group of players.
Sure.
I like to play with experienced players who know the game, and we can just jump right into it, and it's an intense experience that can go on for a couple hours, the way we play, at least. So I had really high expectations for this Ares Expedition, and it let me down a little bit. It felt like a very simplified version of the big box.
Okay.
And it didn't give me enough. So sometimes a simplified version and a shorter version can be helpful if you don't have time to play the longer game. But within the time frame we played it in, it didn't feel like it was enough. It felt like it was a taste of the big box, but not some of the moments with the cards that the big box provides.
Yeah, I felt like it did a decent job at introducing someone into sort of action selection and tableau building. My direct comparison, honestly, wasn't with Terraforming Mars itself as the big box. We're going to be talking about that on Board Game Co. and going into depth on how they compare and where they really line up. My comparison was a game called It's a Wonderful World by Lucky Duck.
I don't think I've ever played it.
Is going to be another resource management and tableau building where you're going to be drafting cards from everyone, playing them down onto the tableau in front of you, and they sequence chain. When you play certain cards, they'll upgrade each other and just get a pile of resources in front of you. That's what this was. This was a lot primarily about what cards you had in your hand, how you were going to play them, and whether or not you could generate the resources necessary or the money necessary to start paying for them. And I really never felt overwhelmingly engaged with that puzzle.
I didn't feel overwhelmingly engaged with the puzzle, and I didn't feel overwhelmingly engaged with the other players.
I didn't care what you were doing.
I didn't really care what you were doing.
If you played any of these 5 cards, it was nice.
I played the card that I needed to play, and if you played something that was beneficial, okay, great, I got to do more things on that turn. However, with the big box, I mean, probably should have stopped comparing it because that's going to be a separate video. I'm probably being a little unfair, though, because I'm judging it against its big...
And you had higher expectations. So from my sense of things, again, as a tableau builder, it didn't match up to other tableau builders.
There's other tableau builders
more,
I prefer.
And part of that could just be the nature of drafting over in It's a Wonderful World. I enjoy that system more than the action selection that's here. However, I can see what they're doing here, and some of the reasons why people might really like this. It does play quicker than its big brother. It has some interesting card play. It has a lot of brand new artwork and theme to it when it comes to the amount of cards that you can play in sequence.
I like the theme. I like the artwork.
I think there's a nice variability when it comes to pathways as well, in terms of how you're going to be terraforming and collectively pushing this planet to a point where endgame is driven by the table as a whole. And if you're paying attention, if you do take the time to pay attention to what other people are doing, how they're building and progressing, you can start to see when the planet might start heating up. You can start to prepare for someone playing an action card, which means you might need to play a research card because you know you're going to get the opportunity. If
you watch their resources building up and you know that they have to do something with their resources, then you can kind of
doubling up,
for that. Yeah.
I had multiple moments where doubling up on cards did cost me some efficiency when it came to the gameplay.
If you played an action and someone else played an action,
Yeah, and so if you're invested in tableau building, if you like this little bit of action selection, I can see a puzzle here that I think a lot of people, or at least a decent amount of people, are going to be heavily invested in and really enjoy, but you have to be willing to focus on and really, really min-max kind of the resources that you have. That's going to be where this game shines for me. 2
little complaints. One, in the big box, I like the animals a lot more. I did not see very many animals.
There wasn't a lot.
Animals and microbes, that's kind of one of the strategies I go for, pathways, and I missed that component. I'm also a little spoiled and have deluxe components, and then my cubes were just shifting around my little board.
It was, I would say it was equal, if not slightly more bothersome to track everything on the sheet, partially because there wasn't a lot of other things being tracked. It was a very small experience with a ton of even more small cubes that were shifting and moving. Now, the components are nice. It's produced very well. The artwork is something that I wish and hope gets incorporated to an updated version of the big box. But
I like the artwork and I like the theme a lot. I mean, I like planet stuff and outer space, and it just
so rating, and then we're gonna head out and film a few more videos. Where do you have this at the moment?
Where do I have this? I probably have it between a 3 and a 4. Okay. Honestly. 3 is
3.32. What are we thinking?
Decimal places. 3, for those of you who don't know the rating system, because it constantly changes between video to video. During this video...
Mine doesn't. Mine's always consistent.
Consistently inconsistent, you mean. So, 3 would be a solid game, but one I probably wouldn't request to play. 4 is a really good game that I would still continue to request. I would play this. If someone said, hey, do you want to play Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition? I'd be like, sure. Terraforming Mars holds the big box was the first game I ever got on my own.
Okay.
So I would play it, but I'm not going to request it. That's kind of where it falls for me.
If that's your rating system, what's a 2?
A 2 is...
You don't want to play it?
It's a game that's not for me, but it still has decent mechanics. A 1 is a bad game.
Yeah. No, I mean,
There's very few ones.
It's certainly not a bad game.
Right.
2 feels too low to give it, because it's a good game, but if someone asked me to play it, I would make excuses for
Would you?
other games. Yeah, if you were like, hey, let's play Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition, I'd be like, well, what about the big box? We don't have time. What about It's a Wonderful World? Well, what about another 2-player game? Is there a
Somewhere
head-to-head?
between a 2 and a
Is
3
there, like,
for you.
Glory? Well, that's way too long, but it's somewhere between a 2 and a 3. Now, that's not the rating scale that I use, however. I use a bourbon rating scale, which is way more consistent and way more precise.
Nonsense, you mean.
And when it comes to the bourbon rating scale, it is actually going to be a solid 2 out of 5. 1 drink is when we start, 2 drinks is when I'm frustrated. I don't go to a 3rd drink until I start the next game. I don't want to be buzzed before I start the game that I really want to play that evening.
I hear.
That's how this works. This is first impressions, sort of a overview of Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition. We're going to go dig in with a man that knows this game and knows the big box game slightly better than, well, me, and possibly you as well.
Yeah, maybe.
So, swing over to Board Game Co., check out the video comparing this to the big box, and see where everything lands. Whatever the case, whatever you do.
Remember the important thing, get out and play some games.
We'll see you next time. Thanks.